Here, present. Okay. Ron Wilson, present. Neil Gaynor. Here. Paul Martin.
Here.
Walt.
Here.
Sorry. Brad Hauk.
Here.
Kent Maggart.
Here.
Keith Lincoln.
Here.
David Smith.
Here.
And Hugh Conant.
Here.
Thank you. Let's start with Mr. Conant has agreed to give an opening invocation.
Okay. Heavenly Father, we come to you today as an assembled body. We humbly request that you bless our meeting, our community, and our nation. Help us to work diligently, always for the common good and in the best interest of those whom we've been elected to represent. Guide us to be insightful and prudent in our intentions, visions, plans, deliberations, decisions, and their fulfillment. Work through us to provide a spirit of welcome to all in attendance, to engage in respectful and thoughtful dialogue and discussions and understanding, wisdom, and humility. Amen. If you wish to, prior to reciting the Pledge of Allegiance, please take an additional moment of silent prayer or additional reflection in the manner of your preference. Thank you. Now we'll do the Pledge of Allegiance to the United States of America flag. Pledge allegiance to
The United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Next flag.
The Texas flag, the pledge of allegiance to the Texas, one state, under God, one indivisible.
You. Comments from the public? Pass. Update on Region H. Arthur?
President, trustees, senior staff, our next meeting will be August the 6th. So I'll be back at the August trustee meeting to have a full report on our meeting. Thank you very much.
Update from Region 6.
Ms. Diaz is not here tonight. She asked me to update you all on the technical committee meeting that was held on July the 2nd, the San Jacinto Regional Flood Planning Group Technical Committee. There are three major tasks that they are working on updating. Task 1 and 2, existing and future flood risk analysis. Task 3A, floodplain management practices. And Task 4C, transitioning from flood management studies to flood management, flood mitigation projects. A presentation was made by GLO, General Land Office, on Central Region River Basin flood studies, which includes the Region 6 area, to identify hotspots, flooding hotspots, and regional mitigation studies. They introduced what's called the MATCH tool, M-A-T-C-H, to align mitigation projects with potential funding sources. And I can provide an update for Shelley to put in minutes. Thank you.
Thank you, Keith.
Yeah.
Neil. Consent agenda. Covering the minutes.
A question on page 8. It's agenda item number 7. Want to deal with that now, Mr. Chairman?
Go ahead. Yes, please.
All right, on page 8, it's the balance sheet, about halfway down the asset column. The inventory at 129,000 is 162,000 less than it was last year at the same date. And the prepayments were 0, and now there's 316,000. Can you explain the changes in those two accounts, please?
Yeah, the auditors requested us set up an account for the prepayments, which is the 2 payments to Vertex One. Two annual, 264,500 each, and one other item that I have to look it up to see what it is. They wanted those pulled out.
So you just amortize those every month? Okay.
That's correct.
And what about the special piping, the larger piping for the It's going to be done and then hopefully this year.
Larger piping.
So we did some meters and then we bought the meters ahead.
Correct.
Is any of that money in these accounts? Okay,
The meters have been purchased and are in hand, and we're systematically putting them in right now. So that's going to start coming pretty quick.
okay,
We believe, as we indicated to the various individual MUDs, that we could likely get most of the meters. Then these are the 3 and 4 inch meters that we would likely be able to get them done in this fiscal year, with the exception of Metro, which pre-bought a little bit extra. That will probably not quite get all theirs done. We're going to get everybody else's done.
all right, thank you.
Any other questions on items 6, 7, or 8? I entertain a motion to,
Move to accept the balance as presented.
Second.
second by you. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 9. Receive the regular monthly SJRA Woodlands report.
Good evening. As far as the report goes, nothing out of the ordinary. Everything's going as it's planned, no violations, and nothing really going on. We do have one item I'm gonna ask Haley to come up and help talk about. This is related to the proposed budget that we presented last month. There's a couple small changes we're gonna talk to y'all about.
So in y'all's handouts that I passed around, there's 3 different packets in there, the PowerPoint, a new budget, and the project plan update. I'm gonna go through the PowerPoint and I'll point out the handouts as we go. So like Chris said, we did have a couple budget changes. That's not normal for us, but the GRP changed, which the Woodlands is a customer of GRP, that changes our budget. So the and the PowerPoint that Marine's helping me out with. The first slide, I kept the timeline just to remind y'all that in July, we're here to answer questions and now present the changes in the budget. And then I'll be at the MUDs next week to answer any questions and then present this again if anybody wants me to present at their MUDs. And then we'll ask for y'all's vote at the July MUD meetings to direct your trustee to vote at the trustees' August meeting on our budget. So then with that being said, I have 2 changes to talk about today. One is the change in the blended fee or the surface water conversion fee as you see it on your water bills. And then the second is a change to our project plan. So the first thing up here, the blended fee is changing. We're going down another penny. The GRP changed their rates. And as you know, the blended fee is a calculation directly based off of their rates. So if their rates change, then the blended fee changes since it's directly correlated. So we are proposing that the blended fee come down another penny to $2.92. This is primarily based on the increased demands in the GRP that we talked about last time, as well as the bond defeasance that they are paying off one of their bonds, which brings their interest expense down and brings their budget down.
Let me
Yeah.
add in something real quick. This is a proposed change for the GRP. The GRP, like last month, we told you, GRP has not seen this yet. What we're looking at with this 1 cent drop is, as some of y'all know, Mid-South used to take surface water. Then they requested no surface water. Now they're requesting to get back on surface water. Once we run the numbers, if they go back on surface water, the production goes from 15 million gallons a day, annual average, to 16.5 million gallons a day. That increase means groundwater stays the same, surface water increases, which if approved by the GRP review committee and our board this month, that is the rate you'll see. If
Different, it's gonna go up.
no, this is it, 292.
But
If they do not approve it, then we're gonna need to go back to 293. So it's a 1 cent difference.
Could you
Might be a
reflect,
little cheap.
could you reflect on the slide, the basis for this? That this is based upon the 16.5 GRP surface water rate?
Correct. This is reflecting 16.5 million gallons a day, annual average surface water production and sales to everybody.
Does this include Conroe's proposal?
This does include Conroe going up to 5.3 million gallons a day, assuming that they pay their past due bills and pay the current rate going forward. Basically, in a nutshell.
And is it MUD 89 and MUD 90?
Is that the 87,
Mud 89,
89?
that is not
They're not
included.
connected yet, so it doesn't include that.
Correct. That is not this year. That'd likely be in FY 27, maybe halfway through. That's 500,000, up to 500,000 gallons a day. So 16.5 goes to 17 at that point.
Did Mid-South just give the explanation of why they left and then came back?
They did. So we'll go in a lot more detail with the review committee. We went to quite a bit of it. Actually, Mid-South was there to explain it last month, but their facilities burned down and they're having a lot more growth than they expected. And they don't want to punch a lot of holes in the ground to get well water out, essentially. And so therefore they want this supplemental water to keep afloat with the projections they're seeing in growth.
I was going to update this as part of the GRP, but I'll just add this piece now is the GRP committee was presented the Mid-South proposal, and the committee requested that we see the revised GRP budget until we approved this. But it sounded like there was, interest in it. We just wanted to make sure we saw what the budget is. Now I'm seeing this, the resultant of that is an extra penny down. So that's good news. So I think we were going for more water and lower fees, and that's happening. So I think it's all positive.
What we did, so with these new changes, right? So how does how do we not exceed the maximum output of the GRP? The times you hit that now.
So as talked about at the last review committee meeting, over the next, not this month, maybe not the next month, but basically by the end of the year, we're going to be bringing back operational strategy changes for the GRP. Because right now, as you said, wintertime, you're at probably 10, 11 million gallons a day. But in the summertime, especially when you have a drought, you're peaking 28, 29 million gallons a day. And so with this change, annual average of 16.5, if you have another drought and the allocation base that we have, you're limited out. You can't go any higher. You cannot accept anybody else unless you reduce the peak of other people. Main one being the Woodlands. In the summertime, you're allocated 14, 15 million gallons a day. So if somebody else wants to come in, then I would have to reduce your peak to allow them to peak in the summertime. So long story short, I'm going to spend 2 or 3 months talking to the review committee about different operational strategies running the plant. That way we don't max out and we can still allow people to come in while still providing people water.
If you look at the other participants, other than the Woodlands, who has extra groundwater capacity to handle that summer peak? I know we do, right?
Yeah, in theory, everybody should. The only people.
Conroe.
No, I know Conroe doesn't. That's why they're needing more water.
Right.
Mud 89 does not. That's why they're looking for it. Mid-South does not. That's why they're looking for water. But we have spoken at the review committee and at the board meeting, and it stands. If any community wants water in their current GRP participant, let me know. We'll be glad to open conversations with them. But there's only been 2 or 3 people that have approached us wanting surface water because they do not have the well capacity.
So really, if we adopt this proposal, we're going to rely upon the Woodlands throttling our pumps, our groundwater wells.
Potentially, that is one of the operational strategies is in the summertime to reduce down the peak. And there's a couple other scenarios we've ran through that's going to affect everybody altogether. But we've gathered some of the data, but not enough to present. But we'll definitely present that to the review committee first if y'all like to hear it, because one of the options does affect your 50% blend ratio. But we can definitely go into more. Once we have the data, we can go into more on that topic. When it's an agenda item and we have the data.
David, I want to interrupt. I have a couple. Okay. Maybe 2 questions. So isn't the blended rate use 50% of our surface water, 50% of the groundwater? It's a 5-cent change at the GRP level with a 1 cent change to us. Can you just help us get from 5 cents to 1 cent? My mind wanted to say it should be 2.5, but
No,
is that because we're allocated differently? Or
no,
maybe?
it's just a 1 cent change from our June presentation. So it's still a 5 cent change from last year's budget.
Got you. Okay.
Yeah, it's just 1 cent from when we presented in June.
And then to this max on contracts versus kind of the rateable fees that you were talking about, did the contracts are they structurally working together, or I mean, does it give you can you just pick who you decide to say you need to ratchet down, or does the contract tell you where to go with that?
So
Are they not integrated that tightly?
no, so the base contract, let's take, for example, the Woodlands Division contract states that the GRP administrator will assign a certain amount of flow. Right, and so because the original intent was to meet with the Lone Star requirement rules, and so therefore we had to maintain, so I'd have to give you this much. It was not the intent to reduce it, it was just make sure that y'all took enough for water
In a year.
in a
In a
year.
year. Okay.
Correct.
Now you got a rateable thing you have to deal with, right?
Correct. Now, there's only one, Mid-South can be the second contract that has a min and a max in it. And so therefore you have to operate within inside the min and max, but everybody else's in general terms can be adjusted at any point in time.
So the Woodlands does not have a Mintermax, or does?
Does not have a min and max.
So you can unilaterally kind of adjust our max down.
Right.
Is what you're saying. The contract doesn't say you have to provide us with a max based on a number that you give us in the front of the year.
Correct, because after the budget's complete, as we're going through the budget each year, I'll create a allocation table, is what I call it, a sheet. And I'll have a min on there and a max on there and an annual average and total gallons per year. And so that's what we will determine in-house and then send out from there.
So it's safe to say if you bring in more kind of annual customers, and 15 goes to 16 goes to 18 million on an annual basis, then everyone's peak is going to have, our peak is going to have to come down. In our summertime, we're going to pull more on the wells proportionally than we have.
Correct. Under the
Right.
current operational strategy of the facility.
Right.
Before, we were not like that. Before, surface water before was base. Means you would essentially get the same amount every single day with the rules, maintaining compliance.
And you float with the well water,
You
right?
got it. And so that's another operational strategy to look at, going back to where everybody gets a constant base every single day of, in your case, 7 million gallons a day, for example. And then you limit the plant at roughly 22, 23 MGD, so you can still grow from there. Another one is do a seasonal, right? So in the wintertime, you get a constant 6 MGD. In the summer, you get a constant 12. And then that's constant. We can still allow people to come in. So there's a lot of different strategies. I know we haven't thought of all of them. We're going to throw out the 3 or 4 that we think of, present to the review committee. I'm sure they're going to have examples and thoughts of other ways to run it. We'll analyze those, get the information, run it back. So we're just trying to prep up to make sure we fully utilize the facility without capping it out today on just a handful of participants.
Chris, you got 80% participants in the GRP.
80% of Montgomery County, back in
80
2010.
But anyway, you have to get a forecast, I guess, for next year for everybody. To
Right.
come up with these numbers, Mike, I'm just curious on how close their forecast is to the actual after the fact. In other words,
Yeah. So what we, yeah, we
I'm
don't,
just curious on.
we
how
don't go
close-
with projections from everybody on their growth. What we do is we look at what their historical has been and what the growth on the groundwater has been, and we have to remove the weather factor. Very similar to how we do the Woodlands facility.
But if somebody is a GRP participant that's not hooked up to surface water, is adding capacity, drilling wells, like Magnolia, then somebody's, that's actually, more consumption is good for the average.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how close you kind of, you're working, you don't work forward, you're working on history then.
We work forward in limited cases because we know where there's going to be demand being, but at the same point in time, I want to be conservative in the demands, because if I'm too aggressive, then we may not have budget to do that. So we've gotten more aggressive. Actually, we increased demand by about 4 MGD in 2 or 3 years. So we are starting to show that growth, but if I show too much growth, this doesn't actually occur, moratoriums, whatever else, we're at a budget deficit. So trying to balance the two. So right now, we're still kind of fine tuning.
Chris, I'd just like to say thank you and the River Authority and the GRP for the tremendous change that happened in the last 6 months, really the last 5 months, maybe, or 4 months. But, we had so many discussion on, we can't go up And now you found a way to go up. I think everybody's got benefits, go help the community, go help the health of the aquifers. So thanks so much. We appreciate all the work.
We'll pass it along to.
Any further questions of the,
Yeah,
questions on the budget?
more things to present.
I have more slides, but
I don't have a budget question.
Yes, I did.
no, I can't take those questions, so have at it. Okay, so up next, this is the project plan change that we had. We presented the project plan in April, I believe. And since we presented the project plan, we had a TWDB approved a budget change on one of our projects to move it from an R&R funded project to a bond funded project. So that is one change that you will see here. In y'all's handouts, I also printed the affected slides or the affected pages of the project plan. So the summary page changed and then that project sheet for this project changed. So this was for the lift station 1 gravity main bypassing decommissioning that they're doing. The estimate for this project came in a little bit more than what they had originally budgeted for. So they went to TWDB and said, we have these unused bond funds. Can we go ahead and apply those bond funds to this project? They said yes. So you'll see 180,000 in our FY26 budget for this project. That is for the construction, the CPS, CMT, all of that stuff that we didn't procure properly for it to qualify for our bonds. So we're keeping that in R&R.
Let me just clarify, because I saw some eyebrows raised.
Oh.
It was procured according to state law, but to use the bond, you have to have a DBE requirement, which our standard RFQ does not. So we're still legal.
Yes,
Just
sorry.
don't meet the qualifications of the bond. Okay, sorry.
No, I'm glad you clarified because we did everything correctly, just not for the bond. To be able to reimburse the R&R from bond proceeds, we have to do the extra steps and we did not do that for this project. So the 4 million that you'll see in the bond, that's for the construction of the project, which we haven't procured yet. So, or they're procuring properly for the bond proceeds to be used for that. So you will see that in the budget as well as in the project plan sheets that I've provided.
Could you speak a little bit about the, let me get the word right, we're out buying more water from the city of Houston. And that's roughly 50 cents more per gallon. We had this bond we have to now sell back. And in order to, I guess the allocation of what we guaranteed that bond with this change. Can you, I've been at the, your board meeting, but I can't ask questions there. And so could you explain how that bond refund process is going and why it has to occur?
Bond defeasance?
Yeah, defeasance, that's it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because so City of Houston water is contractual. That's different from the bond defeasance, but you probably know the bond defeasance better than I do.
They're not connected at all.
They're not connected at all.
Not connected
They
at
are
all.
two separate entire entities. Essentially, we're trying to pay off a portion of the mortgage or early.
Yes.
I don't know if,
I thought we were using the bond payback to pay the gap.
oh, no,
Okay.
no. The bond defeasance just lower the rate because it reduced the debt service reserve that we have to keep. And with that reduction, then that, and the debt service we have to do every year, that's what reduced the rate itself.
Okay, so go through that a little slower.
Yes, so it is GRP and I will caveat this with, I don't do GRP accounting, but I did talk to Kelly today in preparation for this presentation. So Kelly's our GRP accountant if y'all haven't met her. She's fantastic. So the bond defeasance, they are paying off $20 million to our 2012A series bond. So it's basically, like Chris was saying, paying off your mortgage early, paying off any kind of loan. They're putting that payment towards the bond to pay that off. That in turn will bring our outstanding amount down, which recalculates our debt service. So the amount of money that we have to have put away every year to pay that payment is going down. Therefore, we need less cash each year, less expense, and then the rate is able to adjust off of that.
What is the money to pay back the bond? Where's that coming from?
I believe it was.
It's the GRP rate.
So you have a GRP reserve
Debt service reserve we do. Every
Debt
bond's
service reserve.
required to have
and
it.
it's in excess right now, so you have the money to refund one of the
Right,
bonds.
some of this $20 million that Haley talked about came from that debt service reserve that actually over time the interest had accrued so much, we were able to pull some of that off. Plus some additional reserves we had or cash on hand, put them together defeats that 29. It's the same thing basically we did last year as well, ERP.
You clarify, but doing the bond activity, you talk about that lowers the rate. And that's also, I mean, it all rolls up. The Houston contract would cause the rate to go up. Is that correct?
In general terms, yeah, because it's roughly $3.5–4 million more.
Yeah, so there is a kind of, you say they're totally independent, but they combine to cause one offsets the other.
It could. Now, the only reason I'm saying they're entirely separate is because we had figured in the city of Houston rate and everything else prior to the actual debt defeasance. So figuring in the city of Houston with the increased demands that we're seeing kept the budget and the rate stable. So there was no rate increase. After that, the debt defeasance was done, which then lowered the rate.
So the increased demand is what helps counter the city of Houston impact.
Right.
Okay.
Increased expenses were covered by the additional revenue.
So how does this shift to Houston share of the water affect the Lake Conroe division's budget? Because we were paying, 50, 60 cents per thousand. And now you're not going to get that, but you have an expenditure from, I assume it's GRP.
Right. So you want to talk more about, because I don't deal with the raw water. I don't pay anything anymore. I'm out.
Round numbers, it hurt the raw water division by about $2 or $3 million a year by having to go to city Houston water and not buying SGA water.
And how do you cover that?
We tighten our belts. And also raise the raw water rate.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions on the rate, and then I'll keep going. So we covered the project plan changes. So my last two slides are just a summary slide of what changed in the budget. The first one is our operating budget. So you can see I put the superseded budget on here, which is what we presented in June. And then the budget change and the budget variances is just the changes from June to July. It's not the changes from last year. And then another thing, just a note that I totally skipped over in the beginning, the wholesale water and wastewater rates are not changing from last year or from June. Those are staying the same at 273 for water and 565 for wastewater. It's just this GRP rate that's going down a bit. Then on this one, this is showing the change for that project that I talked about, the lift station 1 gravity main and bypass and the decommissioning. That the R&R budget, you'll see that it is going down from the 1.3 million to the 274,000. That's because they were able to get it moved over to the bond, and then it came in higher than they had been estimating it. So that's why it's not 1 million moved to the bond, it's 4 million because the budget went up. And then there's 4 million in the bond. So one last thing, the last handout that y'all have is the budget packet. This is the full budget packet again with the new numbers, and everything highlighted is what's changed from June.
Sorry, I'm looking back a little bit. You said that project went from $1 million to 4 million.
Yes. Well, no, not a
Did I
million.
get that right or not? Sorry.
That's kind of what I said, but not exactly right. There, it went from about, I think, 1.5 million to 4 million. Another 500,000 in there, but. And they changed the scope also. It wasn't just the project. The budget was wrong. They also changed the scope and added a little bit more to the project.
Okay.
So let
Can you
me
explain that a little bit more,
Yeah, let me
maybe?
explain that a little bit. So when lift station 1, we have a project and project plan we've had since about 2021. That's called force main renewal, right? The first project we were going to do was lift station 1's force main. So we kept the project as force main renewal, just carried those funds forward, which is give or take 1.6 million. Last year's first year, we changed it to say, nope, we're going to do lift station 1, named it out as a project, explain the whole project. So we carried forward the funds from force main renewal without ever updating the actual budget itself. And so we've gotten through design, and we needed to know exactly what the budget was estimated to be. Once that number came in, it's about $3.7 million. So we've increased it slightly to $4 million just to get it nice rounded off. Water Development Board has approved it. Now, the additional scope that she's talking about is this force main discharges underneath the Woodlands Parkway overpass. And there's a 18-inch sewer line that runs for, I don't know, probably about 1,000 foot or so that was not in the original scope. Nothing else feeds into that line. So when this force main is dead, it's just going to be a line sitting there and hole in the ground. So part of the change in scope is to go in and remove that actual or grout fill that gravity main is with. So, combination of not updating the budget due to the inflation that we've seen and also getting more information on how to actually do the project. Give or take, the lines 15 to 20 foot deep in the ground, has to be bored, a lot of water in the area. We've also done a life cycle cost analysis on this. That's being finalized right now just to see if it is feasible. Lift station 1 is the first lift station in Woodlands, put in 1974. Does not have to be replaced today, but over the next 20, 30 years, it will need to be replaced. And so we started looking at the O&M cost of the lift station, the force main, the O&M cost, life cycle cost, all that, capital cost, everything else, in combination with the actual line itself to go in. Over the life of this lift station and then putting in a new lift station at some point, what you're going to need to do, it actually showed that this project was actually more feasible financially to get done. It's also a very, very superior, by the way, lift station 1 sits on the northwest corner of Grogan's Mill and Woodlands Parkway. So if you're driving south on there, you look over to the side, you'll see a chain link fence. Very soupy area, a lot of water in the area, not a lot of space there. We don't know if we can put another lift station on there. We actually don't own the land. We're on an easement. So there's added technical complications with that.
But you say it goes over the Woodlands Parkway at Grogan's Mill?
It goes under.
Under at
Yeah.
Grogan's Mill.
And
And the
the,
line is not cased under that overpass.
it's not, and it's definitely rotted out, but we've done the condition assessment, everything else. And the new monument they're putting in, by the way, is going to sit right on top of this bridge. So, just FYI. And so, yeah, this will move to Water Development Board funds, and then the additional funds that are remaining in the R&R fund are going to be used on EST 6. Yes, sir.
Can I ask a question about that? Well, I can wait until we get to your project, but it was interesting at the board meeting. It was, what I interpreted was that talking about elevated storage tank number 6 was required for capacity growth. And I didn't, are we seeing, did I misunderstand that? What's the justification for, because I didn't think there was we're not seeing.
Yeah, a little bit more context. It's not capacity growth in the future. Right now, as we sit today, and with the 6 and final accounting, we're under capacity in elevated storage tank. So we went back and got the waiver, but as soon as that waiver expires or we start reaching that limit, then we're going to need the EST.
Right.
So
It's
that
not
makes-
for future growth. It's
It's-
to ensure we're in compliance with
Okay.
current.
Yeah,
Okay.
And there's a pressure stabilization that goes on to that in that quadrant.
correct. Yeah.
So it's a weaker spot in the system.
Yeah.
It's
So that's for today's users. Yeah, okay. Thank you.
You send a budget in a PDF format to Eric, and could you send me a copy? My site isn't that good anymore.
Oh, did I print it too small?
That would copy.
Yeah, Maureen's got it. I sent it to her before the meeting, so she's gonna send it to you.
So we don't plan to go through this full thing like we did before on this. So if anybody wants to watch the video or have your mods watch the video, that'd be great. But we'll be there next week to answer any questions that are needed.
I got one other question here on the general. So May to June on page 17. So that looks like that was pretty unique. That we actually used less water than June and May. I assume that's just weather related. But
That has a revenue backing rain.
yeah, that's what I was, do we know?
Yeah, no, sorry. No, I was going to open with that and I clean forgot because I was thinking on the way over to this dang rain. Yeah, that's definitely just all the rain. So the average year, if you look on the next page.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, and so that's what I'm looking at right here is an average year is essentially between, if I go back right, FY 24 was a pretty average year. FY 23 and FY 22 had droughts related to them. So FY 24 being the light blue line is more of an average year.
And so we were up in May, but we've come down in June, which is abnormal. So do we think the budgets, those two are gonna wash out?
Yeah.
Okay. Unless we have a wet July, in which case.
You could, because most of the revenue does come in the summertime, but also the last couple of years, we have had excess funds due to more demand. So we reduced it slightly this year, but if you're a little bit down like this, we do account. That's why I don't like to be too conservative.
Right,
Or too aggressive.
You don't want a cash call.
I'm trying, man. I'm trying not to. So
We like
we're
the
giving
range.
y'all one back. That's all I have unless you have any questions.
Further questions? Okay, we're going to move on to item 10, which we will defer since. Would you like to, you covered your meeting in your report?
I just can say that the representative was affected by the Kerrville flooding stuff and could not make it tonight. So that's all I'll say about it. And so he's committed to trying to get there next month. So present to you.
Moves to item 12, Mr. Attorney.
We skipped over what?
Skipped over.
Convenient.
They're not gonna let you skip 11.
That's not one to skip.
Okay. Water line renewal plan. Who's the subject?
Yeah, well, I can just start off, just to put it on the agenda, just to give an update. I have received comments from a handful of directors, and so I've presented those to SDRA and HDR. And so they're working through comments from the directors. So on that front, they're working through comments. In this meeting last month, you had requested an agenda item to possibly discuss about easements related to town center. So I put it on here, kind of more general, just to make sure that you had the opportunity to talk about anything else you wanted related to the analysis, but then to also address the easements, which you did specifically call out last month.
Anybody have anything they want to discuss on AC, or you want to wait till we get the facts in?
I like that. So I've spent a lot of time with the 560-page document. And I chose Westlake Road, to look at that in a lot of detail. Tried to basically take the raw data and move from the raw data to the conclusions. And I'll be honest with you, I was unable to do that. So what we have is that we have a data set, right, and we have a conclusion, but the middle is missing. And I think we need, I think Brad's asked for a couple of examples, take two of the projects and show us how the calculation was made. Because I can't replicate it. I spent a lot of hours in front of that computer, pulling data, throwing it into spreadsheets, using Google Map, trying to plot what the longs they have, and I can't get to the analysis.
Yeah, so the results of the questions that have been presented, what we were looking at doing for those that want to attend, and we're gonna have to be careful about quorums and stuff, but is to do a Teams meeting to have HDR kind of present and kind of go over some of the questions that have come up. So we'll need to be a little bit strict on who can attend, but from just talking with directors, I don't think there's a whole lot of interest to dive into that level to as related to a couple of the directors, probably 5, 6, maybe 8 that want to dive in a little bit deeper as yourself or as one. There's a couple others. So that's kind of the next step, is to conduct that once HDR is ready to go, and they can answer some of those questions for you.
I mean, the issue to me is we have 7 projects, we have a data set, and somehow that data needs to be allocated to each of those project sets. And then we need to figure out how the calculations were made. But right now, my eyes are glazed over, trying to work my way through.
That's why they're the experts in it. That's why they're the experts.
Yeah. It's not in the 500 pages.
Got it.
Do you have a proposed date?
Not yet.
Second half of
Until
July?
I hear from them that they're ready to go, we'll get it on. We'll probably send one of the scheduler things out. We'll get it on the books
Have we stopped any of the easement work that we have talked about at this point in time? Are we progressing forward with easement work? Is that, there was a kind of an ask, I think, on that, right? Or at least an intent to think that we're going to go forward with easement work
Right.
in the meantime.
So quick answer is all the easement work was put on hold. At the MUDs last month, it was discussed that town center would be talked about moving forward at this meeting. And so we had mentioned that if you wanted to move forward, we need funds. And so we could use, basically, we'd combine the easement project with the town center design project. If we put them together, then we'd have the funding to do the redesign, move forward with town center. Right now it's on hold and I don't need to go and get easements because I do need to look at redesigning a portion of town center's water line.
Why would you redesign it?
There are potential over the lifespan of the actual new town center line going in up Grogan's Mill, north of Woodlands Parkway, south of Research Forest roughly. That could go to 3 lanes somewhere over the life of the actual pipe itself. And if our pipe is under the roadway, we may be asked to move it out of the roadway. So if that pipe's in the ground 20 years, county could come in and say you need to move your pipe out of it, and then you wasted the 18 million or whatever you just spent to put it.
Who owns the easement?
County does the right of way. The county owns the right of way.
It's in the right of way right now. The proposal would be to get an easement outside of the right of way.
Right.
So that any future expansion of the roadway would not put the line under the pavement.
And
Cause
who owns that land?
That's part of what they asked all.
the county right of way,
I know, but outside the county, out by
various users,
various people.
various landowners, upgraders.
And during the
East
redesign
side?
on the east
East
side.
side.
And during redesign, that would actually be identified who owns them, meets and bounds drawn up, and then processed to get that. So
Commissioner Will is going to have a lot of hard questions to answer.
So that means, I'm just trying to play this out. So we want some more information on how HDR drew the conclusions that they did. We're gonna have go through it another couple months and still have everything on hold. Is that the current, I mean, we're all buying into that right now? That's what we want to do? I'm just asking the question. We've got some lines out there that need some work. Is there any no regret work that we can get started now? So we're not just everything on hold? Or what? I mean,
town center is almost near completion with the exception of the redesign. That's, to me, that was their top tier project, I believed. I don't think there was any MUD that had a question about that in its entirety.
The redesign and the relocation of easements seem to go hand in hand.
They are. I have to do the redesign before I can do the easements.
Right.
Well,
So,
for part of it.
yeah, so I would think that one should be assured that the new easements, there's a plan forward for that. Otherwise, you're just wasting money redesigning. Am I correct?
You are correct, but we need to do the redesign to see which easements we need.
Yes.
And so once we do the redesign, once you authorize us to move forward with the completion of design, then we will get it designed and identify the easements along the same time. Once it's redesigned, then we'll start acquiring the easements.
So you do need both together in essence.
You do need both together.
Okay.
so is there a reason why we wouldn't want the easements and do the redesign now?
Because we still have questions on the HDR study and the prioritization of the projects.
And is that on 80% of the project, 10% of it, certain parts of it, or just the whole underpinning analysis is? Okay.
I mean,
I mean, that's a couple people were feeling that way. I'm just trying to understand where are we going and what's the plan going forward? Because we'll burn another couple months here.
Yeah.
And maybe that's fine. I just want to make sure we're going into this with our eyes open. That's all.
I specifically asked several times on the impact on level of service. If we delay or if we do it, we've asked questions about, well, if we do it in 7 years, 10 years, 15 years, what's the impact? And we don't have answers to those questions. I think we need to understand why we're spending the money and when we spend it before we spend it. Okay. And nobody has brought anything and said, hey, you're in imminent need of, having holes in the water.
And we feel that the customers of those lines in that area are okay with imminent failures.
I don't think there's nothing that shows there are going to be imminent failures.
I have a point
I
to
thought
make
they
here.
identified that there. I thought they identified some of those lines that were.
When there's breaks
Yeah.
occurring, it's certainly a high risk area. It has a high priority. I'm just, we now know more than we did. And just by doing nothing, we're just basically saying we're not doing anything.
I think.
I'm just trying to understand.
We are doing something.
It should be able to be quickly answered. They did the analysis. We're just asking for a way that we can look at it.
I understand the question. I
confidence
think.
of
I think
it.
I understand the question. I'm just-
We got the data set, we got the conclusion, we just want the path linking the two. And I was, to be honest, I was sort of shocked. You know, after I went through all that data, that I came up, you know, pretty empty handed. And, you know, if it's, I'm not, you know, I'd like to have, and I think, if they can respond quickly, I think it'll alleviate our concerns.
So is this, I'm just trying to understand the process, the governance structure here. How do we decide to move forward with this project? Do we?
Questions answered.
Okay, so let's say we get the questions asked and we get an answer and there's still some uncertainty, or there's a split ticket and there's some of us that want to go forward and some of us that don't. What is the path forward on this? Do we all have to agree and be unanimous? If not, I mean, I know we keep asking this, but I just want to understand.
Yeah, this is the budget item, so it's a majority vote by the trustees, similar to any other budget related item.
So if it's just a plain budget item, it's going to be authorized or not. And we just have to decide when we're going to call that vote, I guess. Okay.
Let me give an example. Okay. Two things from the study, two different projects. Relative to the pipes, I'll read you the data for one situation. I'll read you the data for second situation. I'll ask you which one you would prioritize. Okay. Relative to pipes not included in the near-term project, this project has an average risk score that is 5.3 times worse. Has a metric condition that is 80% worse and breaks 24 times more than often. 24 times more often than those not included. The other project has an average risk score of 5 times worse. Measure condition is 70% worse and is breaking 16 times more often. Which two of those projects would you do first?
Probably the first one.
The first one is the Trade Center project, priority 2. The second one I read to you was priority 1, the Town Center project.
Is that based on the customer?
Or,
Is that prioritization changed based on who it serves?
I don't know, I can't tell.
That's
Okay.
what's missing.
But that's an example.
All right, that's fine. I'm not
Of
at the
why.
meeting. You should ask questions. I just want to know, when are we going to get to the point where we're making decisions? That's all.
Well, we submitted questions.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just,
And it's not like we're opposed to spending money. It's like, what are we getting for our money? And are we really comfortable with the justification?
yeah, no, I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just trying to look beyond that and see where do we actually go with this as a group, is trying to make some decisions. That's all.
But we're not making this stuff up.
I didn't think.
I mean, that's an example of when you read through it, you think, I can't understand why this project was prioritized over that project. Other than it's designed. Okay.
I have a question. I tried to ask it earlier. Can someone in this room tell me what the average age of the pipes that have broken, AC pipes that have broken, burst? Can someone tell me the average age? It's in the database, Appendix A. You can extract it from the database.
No.
How about 39 years?
What did we learn from HDR? The average age of pipeline is a bad
Well,
correlation with breakage.
I think it was just mentioned, there are older parts of the woodlands that, the age of pipe is much older. The samples taken showing the degradation of pipes were on average 45 years old. And they span, less than 40 to 51 or something like that. So it's giving an indication, I think, that there's some need for speed in terms of decision making. Now, should HDR come up quickly with these answers. Hopefully they do. And I echo what he was saying. Let's get this on the agenda for a decision.
Well, let's think about it. A year ago, right, you were ready to move forward with no data whatsoever, right? Remember that? We were gonna basically move forward because they had called around Metro Future, they said they had a 50-year life. Now, obviously, that's not been,
That was the
that's
purpose
not
of my
the
question.
HDR study said that's not true. So I'm
49 years.
I'm just looking to tie the data out.
Yeah, I'm-
And I know we're gonna spend money. I was really surprised after I spent all that time, going through the spreadsheets, going through the 500 pages, that I was unable to accomplish that. And I think we need to have some time to go through the document.
Eric, can we expect to
I don't
have
think it
this?
should take that long since they've done the study. They obviously had to have the data that takes the data set to the conclusion. I mean, how do you go from A to B without the middle part? So they obviously had to have that somewhere. It just hasn't been provided.
Okay, we don't know the answer to that, so I think we ought to move on for now, but can we expect to have an answer next month, do you think?
I don't represent ACO. I don't know.
I appreciate that. Who does represent them?
I don't represent HDR, but
Who hired them?
I have seen the draft responses. And the goal is to deliver those to Eric in a finished form, either at the end of this week or early next week.
So can I ask you guys to waste your eyesight a little
Look at the
harder?
data. I promise you
Look at the
that.
new data and
I want this-
let's aim to maybe hit this next month and try to reach at least what Hugh is asking for is a plan on how we're going to get from A to B.
I'd just like to comment back to you. The other tier 1 project
Mhm.
is not an AC pipeline.
Yes.
It's not an old pipeline.
Yes.
So I think if we took your approach and only looked at the older pipeline,
No, I was
We
only
can
looking
miss
at
it.
AC lines. That was the purpose in looking at that database that was gathered. Yeah, I think there's a whole different set of reasons for the PVC lines breaking prematurely, it would appear. And I'm not familiar with those reasons, but I was trying to understand the question of AC specifically. And wondering, are you pushing up against a failure threshold? Particularly where there are AC pipelines at risk. And we have information based on actual breakages as opposed to estimates of life.
Sure.
The 50-year number. And, when I saw this, I was, again, not to use the term shocked, I was surprised. I wasn't expecting that. So I just think, as I said, the message to me is moving us, getting the answers and then getting a decision, just as we can discuss it. Okay. So, yeah.
We have some of these projects obviously are categorized with tiers of priority, but then the term was thrown out here under imminent failure. Was anything labeled as imminent? Where did that term come from? Any of these pipes at risk of imminent failure? Or are they just high priority and we know that they need to get done? Now, where did this imminent failure terminology just pop up from?
I don't think anyone said, I wasn't,
You mentioned imminent failure, so I didn't know
I
if
said
that was.
if there is imminent failure,
Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah.
if there is, then we're sitting here talking about doing something and not doing anything about it. I think that puts us in a tough spot. That's all. That's all I was trying to progress.
But I'll offer a couple of, it's impact information. So if town center is authorized to move forward, we're 10 months before we're delivering a set of plans, ready to go to bid. We still have to acquire easements on top of that. That's easily 6 months worth of work. So we're 16 months before, at a minimum, before shovels in the ground for a contractor working on town center. If you don't start with town center and you go to a different project to start, it's 3 years before we have a shovel in the ground. So just give that food for thought so you have some idea of what it takes to move a project of these magnitudes along. Woodlands Parkway, which is the 16 and 20-inch water line, it could take longer than 3 years just because there's probably 2 miles worth of water line to design and replace. And that would be in the county right away.
Does that include construction duration?
No.
Also? I didn't know.
No, that's just till contractor moves in and puts a shovel in the ground. Just food for thought.
So we'll try to have an answer, at least that we can argue about next month. Now we'll go to item 12, attorney's report.
Yes, sir. Good evening, board. So you've got a copy of the 89th legislative session summary that was sent out, I believe, earlier today. There's some paper copies there. I'm sure Shelley can get more if y'all want paper copies. Also, you may have heard that the governor did call the first special session today. So that will start in a week or so. There are actually 18 items on the called special agenda. Some of them relate to the tragic flooding in the Kerrville area. There was one of the items that was a little more broadly labeled that I thought, we'll keep an eye on to see what comes out of it. Early warning systems and other preparedness infrastructure in flood-prone areas throughout Texas. So that's, pretty broad. Legislation to strengthen emergency communications and other response infrastructure in flood-prone areas throughout Texas. So you think about, Spring Creek, what is flood-prone areas? So we'll keep an eye on that because don't know where that could end up going. Rules and legislation to evaluate and streamline rules and regulations of speed preparedness for and recovery from natural disasters. We of course experienced that here with Harvey. So, some of these I think were geared to what just happened last weekend, but some of these are also more broadly worded that could potentially have impact on us. A couple other items that kind of caught my eye. One is legislation reducing property tax burden on Texans and legislation imposing spending limits on entities authorized to impose property taxes. So that certainly could be us. We're already subject to the rollback requirements, and we've talked about that many times. So we'll keep an eye on this to see where that goes. There's also a reboot of the legislation prohibiting taxpayer-funded lobbying, as we talked about before, that passed the Senate this session, but not passed the House. So it looks like that is a governor priority. The rest of it are other more narrowly focused items that don't really affect water districts. So we'll keep an eye on it. They're 30-day sessions. So as you've seen before, just because there's one doesn't mean there won't be more. We'll just have to see how it shakes out.
Is it planned to have funding mechanisms in the legislation as far as like the flood warning system, et cetera?
Yeah, I mean, we don't know at this point. I mean, it's pretty broadly worded, so that could go any number of directions. It could be an unfunded mandate where it just says you've got to have this and it doesn't provide funding. So it's what we call an unfunded mandate. Or there could be some effort to, have a funding mechanism through Water Development Board, whether it's grant or some sort of seed funding for low interest debt. We'll have to see. Early to tell. Happy to answer other questions if y'all haven't. Thank you very much.
Item 13, discuss adding trustee contact information
Yes.
to the website.
The question came up, put it on the agenda just to answer this question, and then we can cover it in the meetings. But the question was, can it be done or should we? I had some concerns on cybersecurity front. We've talked with our cybersecurity consultant as well as our web builder, and I believe that we can provide an opportunity for the public to go on the website and choose a director to send an email to without posting the email address, kind of a drop down saying, who do you want to send to? You click the name, which mud they're in, and then it goes out to the email address that is assigned, that you all use. Some of you all use the Woodlands Water, some of you all use your own. And so then it wouldn't be openly sitting there, but they could still get to you directly. Now, if you respond directly to that inquiry or that email, then they would get your information. But by then that you've made that choice to respond. So we believe we can do that. Some of the districts are more interested than others at that, but we can, I think, accomplish the goal for those that want to do it. So I'll be bringing that up at the mud level.
So what would be the response mechanism? Should a response be requested? I'm not quite understanding that. Is that something, an email that would be sent to you or to staff or someone? How is it? You just said if you replied, you have.
You're replying from your email.
That email.
You've received an email from the individual. So at that point, when you respond, it's not associated with the website anymore. That's
Right.
However you get your email.
So you can't respond to the website. There's no mechanism for doing that. Someone receiving.
For the directors?
No. For whoever sent the email via the system you're describing. There's no holder on the website for a director to respond.
Not through the website, no.
Okay.
No.
This sounds very similar to what many of our politicians do. You go to Ted Cruz, or you go to Warren, or you go to.
Yeah.
Fill out a form as it
Yeah,
is.
fill out a form.
Yeah.
But
I mean, you can pick which entity and the name. It'll be a drop down of which director and which district, and then there's a message section at the bottom that we can do the captchas to or whatever they are, if that's necessary. But
then you forward that to the director.
well, as soon as they hit send, it
Goes
goes
right
to the email address that you've assigned.
Oh.
But they just don't see it it's not being published on your website, his actual email
Which was our
address.
concern.
Yeah.
Can we ask, or I don't know how the directors feel, that the WWA gets copied on those?
To say that you're asking if we can or
Yeah.
will.
You will, both.
Yeah, I mean, that's crossed my mind. I'd probably like to see them.
Yeah.
So we can probably set that up, then it gets.
Create your own inbox and just have them collected
Yeah,
there.
right now, the way that the public would send us directly an inquiry is there's an information at Woodlands Water, and that goes into I guess, an inbox that we monitor. So we could certainly also forward it to those as well. That'd be.
What's the volume of those inquiries that you're getting right now?
Not many.
Yeah, it's here and there.
2 a month or 2 a year?
Day, maybe
What is it?
a couple a day,
Oh.
legitimate requests, like, there's a
There's some
water
garbage.
standing, or my fence is broken, such things to come. Yeah.
Fence is broken.
And you
Staff
forward
questions.
copies my bill. Yeah,
Yeah, some don't necessarily, belong or are not immediate concerns in terms of like breakages or things, but we do get some of that from there.
Mhm.
So if we needed staff participation or assistance to respond, we could coordinate that with you.
Yeah.
And if it's something that's more than a specific mud, something that you can hit on. decide how you-
Yeah, and I think,
Sure.
if it gets out of hand for some reason and you're talking about, they could have gone through the main line, but for some reason they choose you because they know that you're a neighbor down the street and it's to report a leak.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
I don't need you to tell me.
Right, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think you
I'd
ought,
rather just handle that, and maybe we have an understanding of which ones we're automatically gonna.
well, you might put a disclaimer on what the intended use of this is for, mud's business, not service request. And then have a redirect to the info.
I think it's a good idea to, have certain, everybody ought to know where they have a problem. If you have a resident that has a problem, then you can go down there and say, well, did they fix it? That's my opinion. But anyway, I agree with you, Eric, that we don't want to blanket everybody's email address on the website, because it's my understanding, I'm not a computer
You're gonna
nerd,
get
but they've got
spam,
these
yeah.
bots that can go through there and they collect those email addresses and people end up and you get spam for, now how in the heck would I get a recommendation for a trip to Siberia, for instance?
I sent that.
Huh? No, but I agree. I think the way you're proposing to handle it.
There's a
Might
couple,
spam though.
yeah, there's a couple muds that have specifically requested this, and so, I'm happy to bring it up at the mud level and see what the muds want.
Perfect.
But I think, question is, or answer is, we can make it work. and we can figure out what details we need to do.
Further discussion on this item? Move on to the general manager's report.
I think we pretty much have got the GRP summary here. We've actually covered the majority of it. There's maybe two things to point out is Lone Star Groundwater Conservation District noted that the next GMA 14 meeting is going to be on September 17th. And then the next day, the 18th of September, they're going to host a MUDS informational meeting to talk about the modeling, DFCs and things like that of that nature. So
Is that Lone Star or GMA?
Lone Star.
Lone Star, right?
Well, GMA 14 meeting is on the 17th at Lone Star physically. Yeah. They're not all at Lone Star, but that one is going to be at Lone Star. And then the next day, Lone Star is hosting the MUD meeting. I know that there's a handful of MUDs that spoke at the Lone Star meeting last night and gave some concern about Lone Star's kind of philosophy on groundwater withdrawal.
Are they gonna try to do it at that, their meeting room up there? Because that's not very big. And it, well, what I was gonna suggest is that somewhere between now and then, that you take a poll of R50 directors and find out how many people are interested, because I'll be there. And
Well, unless you push it, then I spoke to the general manager about this, and she's just using her communication email addresses. You know, you can sign up, says, send me Lone Star's mailings, and that's it. And so I don't know if she has an effective way to contact, 800 MUD directors. Because that's probably what we have, 80 times 5, about 400.
No, they've just done a public post.
They just did a public post where they sending emails out. I got it. And so they have to really work at and fill that room up. It probably holds 50. Been up there years ago,
how many of us are,
but
will be there, but
So it has the potential to be crowded. There's no,
that's why I say it.
people are starting to wake up.
and, the community center closes, I think, September 1.
This one.
This one closes, and it may even be closed mid-August.
Mhm.
And then it doesn't open to sometime, the phased opening in September. So,
Not that one's not reopening.
no, but the one down in,
Yes.
but,
That one's pretty close, my understanding.
what's that?
That one's pretty close to
Being done, yeah.
ready to
But
go.
I think they closed 15 August or something like that. And then they close for like 3 weeks, and then begin opening again. So you're gonna lose that as a meeting space.
Correct.
I got that email, I think, did they request a registration or not? I can't remember.
Yes.
They want
registration.
No, I'm talking about
For the 18th.
September 18th.
The 18th,
Yeah, for
they
that.
have to register.
They
3
did.
o'clock.
I don't know, is that through their website?
Mhm.
Okay.
I'll have to go back. We can hold, I don't know who gets that.
At 3 o'clock.
We can-
Let me make sure.
Can you put that maybe in the MUD
Morning.
package
Yeah,
so that all the MUD directors have access to it and they know to,
maybe forward that,
the link to it? Yeah. Yeah, I think this is a great idea if
No,
we,
it's not. It's not 3 o'clock. It's on the 18th, but it's not 3. I have my protest hearing for my property taxes.
but I mean, this is an opportunity for us to go and speak as MUD directors from the Woodlands.
Protest.
It might make sense that if we spend a future meeting, which I guess would be August or September, to talk about, are there common themes that we want to drive home to the Lone Star Conservation District? Okay.
It's 9 AM I checked my email, it's 9 AM.
yeah, and I would recommend looking at the video from last night from the Lone Star meeting. I think you're gonna get some insight from, there were several MUD directors that spoke.
Woodlands or South County?
Both.
The nice thing about this is it's not, you're not restricted to 3 minutes. Whereas.
I don't know how they're gonna run that. They probably will. They probably will. But I don't know.
When I read it, it's not gonna be in other words, it's not gonna be, if you're invited, you can speak kind of thing.
I think everything else on the GRP update, we've already covered earlier. Couple other updates. Just want to let you know that we have completed the fire system intrusion and most of the access control improvements and upgrades, replacement of the building. So we're in a much better spot than we were. Both front doors work now, which haven't worked since I've
Got 2 buttons, so Dave.
What? Nope, you don't need a button.
I don't.
No, so there's a sensor that allows you to get out without the button. The button's still there for a backup. You need 2, and we had 1, now we have 2, and so you can just walk up to it, and you'll hear a click above your head, and that's releasing the mag locks. So anyway, more than you probably wanted to know there, but also I hadn't previously really dug into a lot of internal things that we do here with staff, but I did want to update you on something that we've been doing. This was a directive from the trustees last year for us, and we have officially today completed a pretty long process to build a career pathing program for the employees, which included updating the job descriptions for all levels, also creating a performance review program as well that delineates goals, core values, rates the employees on those, and then core competencies as well for the company, for the agency. And we've successfully completed our first implementation of that as of today, done all of our self-reviews and manager reviews and one-on-one reviews with all the employees. So we did it probably quicker than we thought, but it was a heavy lift. Kim and staff did an amazing job to get us here. I've been involved in this in prior, and it took a lot longer, many more months. So I'm really proud of the team for getting it done. So that'll be there was part of a kind of restructuring internally as well with different departments here that we did as part of this, and this will align nicely with employees, career paths, and opportunities for growth. We've had 5 retirements in the past 2 years, and so we've promoted some from within. We've replaced some of those positions with new staff. So we're really making some moves behind the scenes. I know you don't get to see that every day, but this means a lot to us because that's what we do every day. But I just wanted to let you know about that.
Well done.
And just last thing I had was just to point out an article on the back that we posted recently, just updating on CWG and the work they're doing. All I have.
Questions? You received the staff and ad hoc committee meetings, updates. Personnel committee, I think, probably did not meet. The audit committee did not meet. We will be meeting over the next few weeks, starting to work on the budget for Woodlands Water for next fiscal year.
Yeah, our budget will be bringing draft in August, approval in September, and then we're working through things this month. And so we will have likely an audit committee meeting and a personnel committee meeting probably early August.
Public Education Committee.
Yes, the PC met today. Updates continue to communication materials, the community working group, as just mentioned, digital toolkit, a guide for social media, informational video, and interactive GIS map, amongst other things. We hope to see the video, instructional video, and interactive map at next month's PC meeting. We did visit, discuss the CWG July 1st meeting. Part of it was where Mira Victor from Carlo presented, and I thought it was well received by the attendees, and it was delivered, I think, with clarity for a general audience. It wasn't given a technical spin at all. It was very, very well done. The next meeting of the CWG will be in September. Hopefully, we'll be in a position to provide the CWG with information on the HDR condition analysis on the pipe water line system. That's it.
Kim, do we have any reason to adjourn?
Not
No reason to adjourn, so no reason to reconvene. Discuss any matters for placement on future agenda. Anybody have anything? I guess we're going to next month have a good report on we're gonna try to have a good report on the AC. Something we can discuss.
Yeah, ideally, we have the teams meeting prior to that and then see what's later.
Anything else? Okay.
I think that lost off.